Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous day here today.
It's fantastic.
And we don't get many of those.
No, we don't. You know,
it's usually either hit or miss, and usually it's miss.
We've had some pretty nice ones lately. You know,
yeah.
Despite the fact that everything is covered in yellow.
Yes, the pollen is kicking pretty good.
Yes, it is. Yes,
so we got to thank the fans,
listeners, fans.
Yes, man, thank you guys. You're blowing
Castaholics.
You're blowing us. You're blowing us up pretty good with the downloads. We appreciate that. That means you're spreading the word.
Yes.
And, you're hitting the PayPal, you're hitting the Amazon banner on our page, ampsandaccesscast.com.
That's the one.
And
that's the one I always go to.
Make sure you hit the social media, too, on there. We got the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. If you hit the Instagram, I'm following you. I follow everybody. So...
on the Instagram.
Yeah, on the Instagram. Can't do it anymore on the Twitter. They locked us down.
Right.
So definitely go over there. Plus, I put a picture up of the artist with all the stuff, and then you guys like it,
and it shows up everywhere.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to Facebook.
Right.
Yeah,
and then I even share that out too.
Exactly. So check us out on Facebook. Mick Marcelino, of course, Jeff Bober, and like us, friend us. I don't know how you do it. And then the show, of course, like the show on Amps and Axes.
Well, I don't do the Facebook friend thing for fans. I don't use my Facebook just to ramp up numbers or anything. My Facebook consists of people that I know, I've had dinner with, I've played music with.
Well, mine's the same way.
We're all personal friends. Had drinks with.
I've got like 49 friends.
I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but there's also.
I don't.
Way more than that that are friend requests of people I don't know. So if you friend request me and I don't get back to you, it's just because I don't do that.
Okay. Well, there we go.
I don't do that.
And I like that. That's respectable.
Well, yeah. I try to keep it.
But you can like the page.
Absolutely. You can.
And that gets updated all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Forget about mine. Go to the Amps and Axes page and.
That's what's about any.
Enjoy that.
Nobody wants to see what I'm doing. Hey, got some kind of weird news, man. Weird. I mean, like extra strange stuff. You've heard this story about B.B. King?
Yes, and the
and his manager,
and the management. Yeah, man.
Yeah, like
wow.
And like he's 89 years old. He's been in like home hospice, and he was worth like $30 million. And I'm trying to think say that Tony, this woman Tony, I don't have her, Laverne Tony, is his manager, and she's literally been keeping his daughters away from him.
Yeah.
And at one point he fell, busted his face wide open. They had to get the police to come to the house
so he could get medical attention.
So he could go to the and this Laverne or this woman Tony, she's saying he doesn't have any money, and they're trying to prove that she squandered 30 mil. Yeah.
Wow.
How about that? One of the last living legends of blues,
for sure.
Is just having a horrible time right now.
And the word managers is almost like a 4-letter word to some people, and this just perpetuates
absolutely
the problem that people perceive with management. Now, I'm sure lots and lots and lots and lots of them are fantastic, and they do their job really well, and they only take what's theirs, and all is good all around, but every so often you get somebody like this that just tarnishes the name, it shames the title, and It's terrible, man.
And this is not like a legend. This is an icon. I mean, this guy is, you know, he's what, 60 albums.
Yeah,
and,
I don't even know
and has
how
been
many.
performing for over 60 years, and you know, has changed his style several times over the years, and been in rock and roll and all the way, you know, with U2 and, you know, some of these other bands that he's recorded with, where he's done these sound bites and everything. And,
Right.
And it's sad, man. It
Yeah,
is a
the
really
man's
sad
iconic.
thing.
He's been around forever. He's a legend, and he needs no introduction. And he's certainly entitled to every freaking dollar that he's ever made and been able to keep, because, you know, he's truly one of the guys that came up from nowhere. You know,
exactly. Oh man, the story is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, God help him. I don't know what else to say. You know, there's not much you can say, because I mean, it's like this really ugly battle, and meanwhile the man's dying.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about it.
It would really suck if he died broke. That would just totally,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You know, well, there's a special place in hell for people. You know.
There sure is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So on a lighter note, I want to give a guitar review.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesomeness.
I purchased an Ibanez Prestige.
And you showed me the said guitar.
And we're going to have to talk about the number. So you want to talk about the guitar while I
talk about the number?
Yeah, I got to get the model number.
Oh, the model.
Sorry. You know, I'm so.
Well, it is the Prestige series, you said, right?
Yes, it is. It is Galaxy Black, and it is it is part of their RG series.
Okay. And
so
no whammy on it, right?
No whammy. It was
guitar,
it's a fixed bridge. It's their, I don't know what you would call that. It's the version. It's a string through body, but it's
yes,
it's their own line.
And you showed me a very unique quality about the string through.
Because the A and the E are offset.
Yes,
they actually have offset holes to not make the angle break as steep because those saddles sit back the farthest.
Right, when they intonate properly, those saddles are pretty much the furthest back. So
exactly.
Yeah, that was so cool. You know, I went, wow, this is really neat. Somebody actually
took the time
to go, well, you know, we wouldn't have such a break angle if we just moved the holes back a little bit.
So it's the RG65 or 652FX.
Cool.
Don't ask me. They come up with the RG series is their road gear, I think is what that stands for. The 652FX, I'm thinking maybe 6 strings. It's got a 5-position, 2 humbuckers. The F and the X.
See, there you go.
The F and the X, I have no idea. Fixed bridge, and the I'm piecing this together as we're talking about it. And the X, I have no clue.
Extended scale? I don't know.
It's 24 fret.
24 fret, yeah.
24 fret, bolt-on necks, 5-piece neck. It's 3 pieces of maple, 2 little thin strips of walnut. It's got 2 titanium rods in it, and it's got a double expanding truss rod that's adjustable from the headstock. Headstock's got a volute, and it angles backwards. Right? It's quarter sawn maple. Puts it a little bit more in that's why it's the Prestige line, right?
Okay.
It's got Ibanez's own proprietary type lockers. They're like Showers. I don't know. They're probably Goto, you know, because that's a Japanese company.
True. Yeah, that would make sense.
It's got a synthetic nut on it, probably from Graphtec. I would imagine that's probably where it came from. Jumbo frets. The neck is massaged very well. The fret ends are the fretwork is absolutely spotless.
It's massaged so well and so long that they took a lot of wood off.
Yeah,
thin neck.
The neck is
wow, I couldn't believe it.
Crazy thin. I mean, it is crazy thin, and it's a long scale guitar, so it's 25 and a half.
Fender scale. Right?
Fender scale. Yeah, it's got 2 humbuckers, Air Norton DiMarzio, and a Tone Zone DiMarzio. Tone Zone's in the bridge. Air Norton's in the rhythm position. Yes, neck. I don't know why I said that, but
it's okay. One of the same.
1 volume, 1 tone. It's got a 5-way switch, and the neck all the way. Let's go. Number 5 would be the rhythm. Would be the neck pickup. Number 1 will be the bridge pickup.
There you go.
Okay, so let's go from 1. 1 is full humbucker.
Full bridge. Right.
Okay. When you go to the second position, you get a single on the bridge.
Okay.
When you go to the third position, you get both humbuckers. When you go to fourth position, you get
single in the neck.
No.
Oh no.
You actually get the neck pickup in parallel instead of series. So it gets you that little quacky kind of stratty sound, but kind of different.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And then when you go to number 5, you get the full blown humbucker series
in
the neck. Okay. So here's the thing. I've been playing the guitar now for roughly a couple weeks, and I've been playing it every day. Mm-hmm. And
how is it on your hand?
It's easy on my hand, right? It is and it isn't. Okay, so here's the thing. It's 16-inch radius. It's very flat.
Yes.
Right? The whole neck. Doing those low chords, it takes its toll on your hand. You take a very thin neck and then you flatten it out. When you're trying to do bar chords, it's a little rough.
Well, I think the neck is meant for speed, not for soul.
Exactly.
You know?
The other side of that is you can really crank on it. I mean, you can really go fast. Mm-hmm. But it loses, as easy as it is to play, it's not comfortable. Does that make sense? It's not and the reason is because of that whole soul thing. It just doesn't have enough. What they should have done, in my opinion, is they should have ran a compound radius, like from 12 to 16. Right?
Okay.
12 inches at the nut and 16 inches at the heel.
Right.
So that way you would get that Les Paul feel in the nut, and you'd be able to do the chords without your hand getting fatigued.
Right.
But the action would be able to lay down on there, and you'd be able to just go to town, you know. And it being 24 frets, it moves the rhythm pickup further towards the bridge, the neck pickup. It moves it towards the bridge. So you get a little bit of that kind of thing, but if those two frets weren't there and that pickup could just be shoved up another half inch the other way, it would have a little bit more warmth to it, I think. Oh, by the way, it's a basswood body, which is very resonant. I mean, you heard it, but acoustically, it rang.
It does ring.
It rang very loud. I don't know if this is the guitar for me, to be honest with you.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool because I was able to, I could go do all these licks that but then I went back to the SG, which is short scale. It chokes you a little bit. You're not flying as fast as you can on this because it chokes you a little bit. It's rock and roll. It's like comparing a 57 Chevy to a brand new McLaren SL500 Mercedes. They're not in the same ballpark.
No.
This guitar is...
But they're both very cool.
But they're cool, right? I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but the SG just kind of calls out to me a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I'm going to hang on to it, to be honest with you. I like the guitar. I've heard the tones. It just kind of just doesn't have the soul. I don't know what it is. Okay. It's kind of weird.
Now, I'm just throwing it out there, like, something to think about because I don't even know, and maybe you want to think about it, and at some point you have your own guitar built or something. But the up at the nut, do you think it would make more of a difference for you if there was a 12-inch radius, or if the neck had some more meat?
Okay, so I had the pleasure to play a Les Paul 08, a standard. Now, the Les Paul 2008 standard was, it had a compound radius. It went from 12 to 15 or 16.
Okay, so you said 08. I mistakenly was thinking R8.
No.
But,
no. This was their standard
in 2008.
Yes. Now, the standard 2008 was one of those guitars that some people loved them, and a lot of people hated them. Mm-hmm. They had a Neutrik jack. So you had to push a button to hold the jack in.
The Neutrik,
yeah. How's it pronounced?
Neutrik.
Yeah. And which was weird because it was like, no, if I'm stepping on the cord and it's trying to pull the cable out, I want it to come out of the guitar. I don't want...
You don't want the guitar to go with the cable?
I don't want to be going down with the guitar either.
There's that.
So a lot of guys who get them, they actually have that changed out. Mm-hmm. It was one of the first ones I think that they made... And I'm probably wrong. I'll probably get corrected. But it had a circuit board for the electronics inside. Everything was mounted to the circuit board. It was all plug and play.
Pots, tone caps,
everything.
And the pickups just plug in. I
Yeah,
guess?
the pickups had plugs,
Uh-huh.
and it was heavily chambered, the guitar.
Okay.
But here was the thing. It had an asymmetrical feel on the back of the neck, so it was thinner towards the high strings, and it was a little bit thicker on the rhythm side.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't completely like a D or a C or anything like that. And it had this crazy compound radius. And let me tell you, that guitar was like just a dream to play that thing. My hand, it was just like, oh yeah, you could just, you want me to do this as fast as I can? No problem. But you want me to do all these open chords? No problem. Mm-hmm. Or you want me to do bar chords down low? Hey, it's cool too, because it really, the compound radius is one of those things that I'm like, I don't know why all guitars don't come with it. Mm-hmm. I had a Jim Root Strat. Jim Root is one of the guitar players from Slipknot.
Yeah.
His Strat is 12 to 16, and it was just amazing.
Wow.
And but man, that was a beast.
Oh yeah.
That thing was a mahogany body, and they didn't put the 1/2 inch radius on it. They used a very small, like 3/8 or 1/4 inch radius around the perimeter.
Body, yeah.
And it was more wood on the guitar, and I was like, man, this thing's got some girth to it. It was like heavy.
Wow.
And it was just. It had EMGs. I was like looking at it like a lot of work to get this thing the way I wanted it. I was like,
just for the neck.
Yeah, just for the neck, right? So, so I think that's what 12 inch is good. The flat is good, but it needs to be kind of like in that both worlds there.
Right.
It
only makes sense, really.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like all the Wayne Charvel guitars had compound radius on them.
Okay.
Yeah. Our buddy, Phil Jacoby, he loves compound radiuses. Mm-hmm. He thinks that's the way all instruments should be made, because it is kind of the way that your hand works. You want the action to get low so you can do those fast passages when you want to.
Right.
But you want to be able to do bar chords and stuff down low and without killing your hand. And it really does kill your hand when you have a flat radius.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you think about your hand, it's curved. Your fingers curve.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
When you close them. So
right.
it make more sense.
It's not a guitar. It's not a chord guitar. Most of those guitars, you'll find the guys have the hair tie.
Yeah, because they're doing
right at
they're
zero,
just ripping on the thing,
and
like crazy.
So nothing nothing resonates, and it's just all 10 fingers on the freaking neck, and that's what that's made for, I think.
Yes. And so that's my honest review. I think it's made for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think time is taking its toll on me to where I'm just like, you know what? I don't need to go fast anymore like that.
You are just tuned into what you want and what works better for you, and that's fine. And
I've kind of found it, yeah,
right.
The Les Paul was a bit of a bear for me. Mm-hmm. It was just like I like to go up. I like to get up to the upper register, and I don't like any obstacles. And a Les Paul doesn't really lend that. It's got that big block of wood there,
right?
And I don't like to have. I like to have freedom. Like, I don't have to change how I play the guitar at a certain point on the guitar. Mm-hmm. So the SG, well, it's perfect. There's no obstruction all the way to 22nd fret. And you played it the other night.
I did. I loved it. I loved it, yeah.
And I was really impressed with, and I was glad that they did this. They actually took the guitars out of the PA system because those East amps were plenty loud. But I was glad, because when they were putting you guys through the PA system, and I know we're kind of deviating. Well, we're still talking about guitars.
Totally.
When they were putting you through the PA system, it was, it didn't sound like the amps.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It was just, you know how it is.
Yeah.
It changes the color of the sound.
And we're not going to go any further than me saying it was the wrong system for the room too. So
yes, but when I heard you pick up my SG and you were playing through and all I heard was the amp because they took you out of the PA system, I was like, oh, that guitar sounds great.
It did. It sounded really good.
That
I
thing
enjoyed
just was like, it just kind of came around you a little bit. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because it's all mahogany. Maybe that's what, but it had that real cool mid-range. And it was very distinctive between your Les Paul and that guitar.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it was
and it had a really nice top end, too.
Yeah, it was weird, man. And I was like, man, that sounded cool. So, anyway, that's it. And we got a very cool guest coming up. And this is a personal friend of mine, actually.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
He's known my wife's family forever. They grew up down the street from each other, and they've hung out at upstate New York all the time. They're the families.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dan McLoughlin is his name, and he was early on just an amazing musician. Played piano, and then just started. It was just every instrument,
Mm-hmm.
And later joined a band called the Push Stars, and
playing bass,
yes,
Push Stars, yes.
and some keyboard stuff in there too. He can play pretty much. Mm-hmm. You just throw the instrument in front of him, he'll go ahead. Great guy, and you'll hear this in the interview. And but he's done some very cool things over the years, because the Push Stars kind of went away. Mm-hmm. But we're going to let him tell the story. But now he's got this other business, and he's up in Hoboken, New Jersey. Neighbor of Artie Lang. Mm-hmm. And he's just a real cool guy, got a cool story.
Well,
and
he's in Hoboken. He was also probably not anymore. He was in the same town that Lenny Kravitz had his studio in.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Which he has a studio too. So we can
cool.
get all this cool information.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll be back in a second.
Hi, this is Steve Fossen, the original founding member of Heart and the original founding member of Heart by Heart. And you're listening to Amps and Axes.
All right, and we are back with our guest of the week, Mr. Dan McLoughlin. Dan, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for coming on the show with us, and thanks for taking the time. You're like probably everybody else in the music world and very busy, and we just want to thank you for taking a little bit of time to speak with us.
Of course. My pleasure.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I have this personal connection with Danny because
you were saying
of the families, right? Yes. And I remember, you meet Danny, he's just a normal guy.
Okay.
He's not like, you would just pass Danny on the street and it would be Danny. It'd be like, hey, Okay. And
we like normal guys.
That was always the thing that impressed me, because then I got to actually see the Push Stars play, and I was like, holy crap, that's Danny up there.
My alter ego.
Exactly, Awesome. And let me tell you, playing the bass, you have got that down, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's definitely a well-rounded musician.
Mick was saying you're a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, actually, piano was my first instrument when I was about 6. I just picked it up, not literally, but I started messing around with it, and I just fell in love with it and music in general. And then I gravitated to guitar, and then bass. Bass came along because when I was playing in bands in the early days, everybody was like wants to play guitar and wants to be the lead guy, and I was like, well, you know what? We need a bass, man. We need a bass for this to work. I was the guy who knew that. So I said, screw it. I'll play bass, and you guys all play guitar, We always had a drummer. The drummer was the guy where you practiced at his house,
Right.
And then
because he had the most stuff to move.
Yeah.
and he could play loud.
I just fell in love with the bass, man. I just love having that control and being in the background. I don't like to be in the, I'm not a showman like in the front, like Mick was saying, but I like having a lot of control over the sound and playing the bass and being part of the band, but not, being the front man. So just fell in love with it. And also, big fan of James Jamerson and Paul McCartney and Graham Maybe, a lot of these really great bass players that I grew up listening to. So.
Yeah, for sure. I've been convinced over the years that if you want to be employed musically, play bass. I mean, a few times we were looking around for projects and everything. It's like, okay, there's plenty of guitar players. We know keyboard players. It's where's the bass players when you need them? The good ones.
They're all tied up.
Are playing with 5 bands 8 days a week.
Absolutely,
You know?
absolutely true. And you know, the ones that you know, you can tell the ones that are just kind of doing it to fill in, but they're not happy doing it. And then you guys that like really love playing the bass, you know, and those are the guys, like you said, are just working all the time because it's really invaluable to. I mean, it puts the glue together in your band if you have a good bass player. Absolutely, in my opinion.
Well, 2 bass players in a row. 2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I remember as a kid, I was playing in my buddy's garage, and it was me and him on guitar, and we had this drummer, of course, right? And the other guitar player sang, but we didn't have a bass player. And you know, it was the story. We were trying to find a bass player, and we're young, right? We're ridiculously young. Well, then my buddy, who was like 3 years older than me, he was in high school already. He said, "Hey, this guy's going to come over and play bass." And I just remember, like, the whole room got full of sound.
Yeah.
You know, it was like these 2 little guitars were doing nothing. Right. But as soon as that bass player came in,
it was
I was
now
like,
a complete ensemble.
It was like, it was amazing, you know? I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah, it just gives depth to the whole band, and it makes the guitars pop out even more. Like, you know, it makes them appreciate them and stuff like that, you know?
Right. We got a little ahead of things, though, because I always I always like to find out where our guests comes from, you know, and what influences. So give us a little history. Where you know, where were you born, and when did you decided to get into music?
Okay, I was born in Poughkeepsie, New York. Well, actually, I wasn't born. I was born in Cold Spring, New York, but my family came from New York City originally, and then we all moved up kind of north. And I grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and like I told you guys, I started playing music and I just fell in love with it. It's been my passion my whole life, which I've been so fortunate to have that. And then I, you know, started, my brother and I used to play in bands, and when I was around 14, 15, I started playing out with him in bars and stuff like that. And like I would play keyboards, and that was I don't want to give away my age, but that was like a new wave era, let's just say.
Okay.
And you know, it was a big keyboard-driven kind of pop sound going on. So I played a lot of keyboards and guitar and stuff like that, and just, you know, just played in every kind of band you can imagine, just about, you know, country to even played in like metal bands and stuff like that, just whatever, and mostly like kind of alternative rock stuff, you know, new wave and things like that. And then just cut my teeth that way, you know, when I was a kid playing in bars and stuff like that, and learning kind of what not to do, what to do, how to perform, how to, you know, and all that stuff just by doing it. And then, you know, as the time went on, I got internships in studio. I went to music school and a recording engineer school, which I can talk about later. Yeah, I don't know how far you want me to go, but that's basically how I started. I think pretty normal, like any other kid. I wasn't like this prodigy or anything. The one thing I do know that I had, though, was a very technical mind as a young kid. I used to do a lot of recording on 2 boom boxes. I would take one box, like a, you know, just a regular boom box, and record guitar part, play that back onto another boom box, and then do an overdub to that. And then I go back and forth until it sounded like terrible. But, you know, I used to keep doing that, bouncing back and forth, and keep jamming to myself all the time. And I was a weird kid like that, you know. I was like, I wasn't doing the stuff that normal kids were doing. I was doing that kind of stuff. Then I got my 4-track. I got, like, when I was 16, I saved up money. I bought my own 4-track. I bought a Wurlitzer piano so I can play in the key. I was pretty much obsessed with doing this, you know. It's always been there for me. So the engineering part of it came naturally. I was always the guy to work the PA in the band. I was always the guy to plug everything in. I just got a technical mind for that. So in a way, I was very fortunate to have both things. I had a musical, creative mind, but I also had a very technical mind, which is how I ended up in engineering, which is the next phase of my life.
That's very cool. And, you know, that was probably you know, like one of the TAC 4-tracks or Tascam. Yeah, right.
My brother had the Fostex X15, and then
I remember that.
Yeah, and then I had to surpass him and get the Yamaha MT1X, awesome 4-track, which I still have, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And I cut hours and hours of tapes, man. I have a bin full of cassette tapes of just stuff that I worked on, you know.
Do you still have the guitars and the amps from the era? And do you remember what they were?
Still do. I have a PV special. I have a Princeton Reverb. And over the years, I picked up some other amps, but I did get rid of some stuff too. Unfortunately, like I had a '83 Gibson Les Paul Standard, which I sold for a bass rig. You know, of course, you guys all have these stories.
Oh yeah.
I had a Vibro Champ. I had some cool amps from that time too. Yeah, that hang. But actually, the PVs from that era were awesome amps. Even though PV has a bad name, but I don't know why. Those are great amps, in my opinion.
And it's you know,
you could throw them off a truck.
Yeah, man,
right.
definitely. That's still going. That amp is still going.
Wow.
And it's got its own sound, though. You know what I mean? It's not a Marshall, but it's got its own sound. So, you know.
Yeah, well, there's an entire band that made that sound.
Right.
Leonard Skinner.
It's Skinner, yeah.
Yeah.
Skinner. Yeah, and it's so funny because it wasn't like you know, I got my first 100-watt Marshall stack, you know, Princeton Reverb and a Vibro Champ, and you know, But I mean, so much cool music was made, especially in the studio. So much cool music was made with little amps.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely,
all the time.
definitely.
Yeah,
and I learned that too as time went on in the studio. I learned that more and more and more, that the little amps have the biggest sound really in the studio, you know?
Yeah. And well, Jeff proved that too, because Jeff is, you know, I've told you this, Danny, is he's everything of East Amplification.
Oh, cool.
And he came out with this 2-watt amp. And you think 2 watts, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you get it, you hear it, and you go, that's the loudest 2 watts of anything I've ever heard, you know?
Definitely.
And it sounds like you sound like you're going through a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Without getting your head blown off.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah.
When I have a chance to use one.
Yeah, right.
You know,
it's no fun when they're just sitting in the room doing nothing,
right? But I mean, even live, it's hard for me to take out anything but an 18, you know? Unless you're playing someplace really big or outside, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, 18 is my go-to, you know.
Now, the one thing that we can talk about real quick that I noticed the first time that, you know, I saw Danny play is he has this P bass.
Yeah.
It is the craziest looking P bass you've ever seen in your life.
I know. I was just talking to someone about that the other day. Everyone always asks me about that, and I'm not sure what happened and when, but we were like the second owners. My brother actually had that bass. I bought it from him. And it's a 71, and we've had it probably in the family since, like, I would say late 70s, early 80s, something like that. So it was only like 10 years old when we had it. But the previous owner, we did know the guy, and he bought it from someone else, I think. I think we might have been the third owner of it, but someone carved out part of it. I wish I had a picture to show you. But basically, they tried to make it more psychedelic looking, like more wavy.
On the top part.
Yeah,
right?
Like the body.
Yeah.
You know how it's like a female kind of shape, and they made it even more female.
Yeah, they made it like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I never. That's the first time my bass has ever been compared to that. But I'm gonna have to take some time to think about that. But yeah, it's got a unique look, you know. But man, do I love that era for P basses. I just that in the late 70s. Early 80s is also a great time. But what I liked about the 71 is the neck I love, and the weight is not too heavy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a nice sounding bass, and it's unique. It's one of a kind, you know.
Yeah,
sounds like
the first time I saw it, I was like, "What is that?"
Yeah. Right.
You know, like I couldn't.
Always,
I think I know what that is, but there's something wrong. You know?
Well, I tell you what I'll do. I know there's pictures of it because I've seen them on the internet.
Yeah.
I'll get a picture. I'll put it up on our website with the episode.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the guitar and you stand it on its bottom, on its strap pin, right? To the left, where that would be the top horn.
Exactly.
Where it comes down and gets skinny, they made it skinnier.
Yeah, that's what I was picturing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funky looking, you know, but it sounds incredible.
but I never got the full story of who did it, and when I really been trying, and I can't seem to find out.
Wow.
But it's a mystery.
Yeah.
Someday somebody's going to see a picture of him and go, "That's my bass."
That's my bass. Exactly. I'm welcoming that day, man.
Well, maybe somebody listening to the podcast will.
You never know.
You never know. That's right.
Make it happen.
We've talked about some stuff, and we get emails. No, this is where it is.
Right.
This is how it is. So that's good.
For sure.
If you know about Danny's bass, send an email.
That's it. Tell us where this funky curve came from.
Exactly.
That's great, man.
So now, you at this point, how do you get into the Push Stars? How does that happen?
Well, I have to say it starts from, so I went to SUNY Fredonia. It's a state University of New York school, Fredonia, which is near Buffalo, New York. And it has what's called a Tonmeister program, which is a mix. It's a full-on music program and sound recording program where the students have studio time. They record other bands. It's a real cool thing. It's a real cool program. In fact, the Flaming Lips did some of their first recording up there. One of the students actually found those guys and recorded them as their project.
Wow.
And he went on to fame after that. But he was my classmate, Dave Fridman, who's a really talented producer. So he was my classmate, and this is kind of how we kind of ran the studio ourselves. And, it was a real kind of it was school, but not real. It was very, very hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So there's this guy, Chris Trapper, who was the singer-songwriter for the Push Stars, who was a student there too. And he had a big band, big kind of U2, me, Echo and the Bunnyman type of band, big rock sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a cassette tape of his songs that after he left. Anyway, long story short, I tracked him down to Boston. He had moved to Boston, and I went after him, man, because I was working in the studio where the owner said, "Hey, dude, if you have any projects you want to do on your spare time, bring them in, and I'll give you free studio time." And this happens a lot with studio engineers who start off as interns.
Mm-hmm.
To cut their teeth, you need people to record. You need guinea pigs, So I said, I got the guy that I want to record. So basically, I went after him. He said, "I have a band now." I said, "Great, bring the band." So he brought the band, but the bass player, this is true, bass player couldn't make it, couldn't get off work or something like that. So I said, screw it, I'll play bass for this. You know what I mean? I just want to record
for the project, yeah.
Yeah, I'll play bass, I'll play keyboard, whatever you need. Just don't worry about it. Come down. So he brought the drummer, Ryan McLoughlin, who's the drummer to this day in the Push Stars, and I hit record. I set up a bass amp, and I hit record on a Studer, picked up the bass, and played along with the guys, and we recorded the demo, and it was it, man. We just gelled, and that was it. So I quit my job. I was working at a studio called Dreamland in Woodstock, New York, which is a top state of the art. I work with tons of big bands there as an assistant, but I quit it and I moved to Boston to join the band. I said, this is a time in my life where, I'm going to either be working in the studio as an engineer and assistant and all that, or I'm going to take a chance and get into a band that I think has promise. And, when you're that age, I was in my 20s, when you're that age, you say, that's the time you make those decisions,
For sure, man.
At the time, it's stupid because it seems stupid, of course, because here you have a paying job, well on your way to a career. I was approached by producers and engineers to move to LA and do this for real, I said, you know what? I'm following this dream, man. I'm going to do this. And it was the best decision I ever made, really, because it brought me a ton of joy in my life to be part of that. But that was a pivotal moment for me. I found this guy and I said, he's got so many good songs. I want to follow this path. So I quit my job, and I moved to Boston. Wow. Yeah, and I moved in with 4 other people, paying $200 a month in rent in the worst part of Boston. But that was the dream, man.
And the thing is, Chris is a very unique writer. Mm-hmm. His chord structures and stuff. I mean, I'll have to let you hear some of his stuff. It's kind of crazy. I mean,
I know the name of the band. I have known the name of the band for a while. just never got familiar with their material, but I've known the name of the band.
And very poppy type songs, they're very easy to listen to. It's nothing, anything, but when you listen to the guitar, you go, what is he playing? What is that chord? He's very into those very unique chords you can hear,
Absolutely. I mean, the way our band works, it's very, very natural. I mean, we leave him alone. He does a tremendous amount of like arrangement on the guitar, and his songs are very approachable and singable, and like got us into many movies and soundtracks and stuff like that. Just a very simple thing. And the bass player, me and the drummer, just kind of just play along and don't get in his way too much. And it's a very natural sound, and that's the way we've always approached it.
You just support the song. You support his song.
Absolutely. The song is what matters, and the band is there to just make it as good a song as it can, but it's not about the band. It's about the songs, and it's about what they mean to people.
Sure.
So it's worked for us. I mean, for a while we had a very good run with that. So I'm very proud of it.
And the big movie was Something About Mary.
Yeah, that was our first like major.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, we had some other ones right before that, but we were brewing up to get something bigger, and that was in that movie. We went to the premiere. It was in a major scene, and it was good, very good for us.
How did you guys get into the movie and the soundtrack end of things?
Well, it's kind of all comes together sometimes at the same time. Like we put it out there when we put our first record out, and EMI signed us to they gave us an award out of the blue, best unsigned band in America. We won that in like 97, something like that, and shortly after that, the labels started coming out of the woodwork. And at one point, we had 30 labels we were meeting with,
Wow.
Well, not 30, I don't know how many. It was a lot, almost all of them pretty much, And little ones, independent ones, but we met with Columbia, Capitol we ended up signing with, And once that starts happening, then your name gets up there for getting in movies. And it's kind of like it all kind of came together really quickly in that way, It was like when EMI when the music publisher gets involved, that's when if you can get signed to a publishing. I always tell bands, try to get with a publishing company, because when a movie's being made and they're looking for music, the first place they go are the publishers and see who do you got, who's hot, who you like,
Wow.
So
it's a good lesson.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, that might be maybe not be the old school way, but I think it still is going on that way. I think, they're the ones that you think know music, and there's also music supervisors who are, you get friendly with, which we did. And Capitol had their own music supervisor. So basically a movie comes out. It's funny how it works. Like a movie studio is kind of aligned with certain labels and certain publishing companies, and they all kind of work together. So if you get in with one of them, you're kind of in like a good place, Cool. So that's kind of how that happened. Not that, we pounded the pavement, believe me, to get there. But once you get one bite like that, it kind of comes around a little bit easier,
Yeah,
Nice.
once the foot's in the door,
Yeah, you got to get the foot in the door, and we played those labels right. We did so many showcases in New York, and if you get any advice to a band is if you get any interest at all, man, just really, really go after them, and make sure you put on your best possible show at every time. You never know who's going to be there, and we've played shows in New York where we thought it was bullshit, like no one's here. Well, guess what? There was one guy from like Geffen in the crowd, and he doesn't look like anything. He looks like a dude with a T-shirt.
Oh yeah.
But he came out to check out the show, so you can't blow off any show. You never know, who's going to be there.
Absolutely.
More good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
play everyone like it's the one.
I remember.
That's generally the principle anyway, because I feel like if you're going to put on a show, why do it half? Just put on the very best show you can every time, and don't ever feel like there's no one here. Practice, do the best show, because there might be someone there that could make a difference in your life, and you should do that anyway. It's more fun for you, I think.
Oh, for sure.
And I always looked at it like this: if there was 10 people or 100 people, that still they paid money.
Exactly.
More than likely, yeah.
You know, they're taking their time to come see you.
Right.
So why not make it entertaining for them?
Show them something,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You know?
100% agree. We've always felt that way, you know?
I remember when I said, wow, Danny's really doing something, is when my wife came home with the Rolling Stone magazine when they were big, and she opened it up, and 2 full pages was this picture of those 3 in a movie theater sitting on the seats, right? And yeah. And I was like, holy crap, man.
Rolling Stone, yeah.
Rolling Stone magazine, 2, you opened that thing up, there they were.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa.
Really
You're like,
cool,
this is going well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And those kind of things you can never take for granted or anything. Like, I mean, that was like, you try to ride that as much as possible, because you never know when it's over. And it's over very too soon,
Yeah, sure.
So we enjoyed it. We felt very fortunate to get some of those opportunities. But again, when you're with I think when you're looking for a label, to get with a good label who understands where you guys think you need to be. Also with the manager, the right manager, you got to have the right team together,
Oh, yeah. And I think that probably happens less and less nowadays.
Yeah, with all the home stuff and all.
Yeah, it's just it's such a different game now.
It's such a different game, and I feel even stupid giving advice to anybody because I don't even know the right game anymore. I mean, honestly, we were the last probably example of that era. Seriously, we were at the end of it, man. The big label era, because right after we were done, that was it. The labels, the Napster. And, downloading music, iTunes and everything, that put an end to all that. I mean, I think we were like the last remnant of that old school system, which it was good in some ways, it was bad in a lot of ways. A lot of wasted money.
Huh. Wasted in the fact that you had to do something with it and then had to pay it back, or money that you invested, or...
No, I think the labels wasted a lot of money, and they overcharged for CDs. And, I think they just got really greedy and fat and lazy. And, I just think basically like the label, for instance, when we were making our record, we were out in LA in Ocean Way Studio. We were spending so much money. We were eating out every night. And there was all these extra expenses going on, man, all the time. People hiring people for stuff. And, and I was looking at it, it's like, if you were paying it out of his pocket, man, we wouldn't have been spending that much money. But the label just goes crazy. There's expense dinners all the time. They're going out on your dime, and it's like it happened all the time. And all the money they spend on promotion and stuff like that, it's just like they just I mean, they went crazy, honestly. And so we're never going to make that money back. And we realized that, if you spend $500,000 making a record, you're never going to make it back. You got to sell millions and millions and millions of records to make any money. And it's true for a lot of bands that I knew. They made these big major label records and then they couldn't make their money back. And that happened a lot. So today's a totally different game, man. You don't spend as much money on a record, and you don't waste money, and you try to make money, but it's harder to make money. Yeah,
you got to go out there.
Well, when we were putting out records, it was like $18 for a CD. It's ridiculous to think about it, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like you get it for free. So what do you do? I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, well, now we've had this discussion before. Nowadays, it's not about the selling of the music; it's about the touring.
Yeah.
To promote it,
everything behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's touring. It's
Absolutely.
merch. It's not about the recorded material anymore. It's almost like the recorded material has to exist for you to go out and have a large scale tour, whatever large scale quote unquote is for your level of band, but you got to go out and make the money on the road. It doesn't come from the recorded material anymore because everybody wants that recorded stuff for free.
I know, which is
exactly
ridiculous.
True. And the live show is the only thing you can't get for free. I mean, it's an experience that you have to go and pay money and get,
Right.
So you're right. Touring is where it's at. And that's where the money's being made. And it's a shame that, bands can't really get paid for their recorded material, but what are you going to do? I have many different opinions on both sides of it because I was in it.
Yeah.
I've also been a producer of many bands that I've produced, and I'm supposed to get money on, and and I see a band doing well, I'm like, there's no money because we're not making any money because we spent too much, and I'm like, so I see it from both angles, It's a different game. The important thing is that people are creating music still and are enjoying it and they're appreciating it, and hopefully people will continue to pay money to see musicians. I just want people to appreciate musicians and know that they're valuable and they need to be paid.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had that conversation.
Music is necessary, man. Music is necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now, so the Push Stars come to an end. And is that when you started with your studio thing?
Well, I've always been so before the Push Stars, I was working with like bands like Dinosaur Jr. and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and like Julian Hatfield and Buffalo Tom, bands like that from the Boston era. And then I continued to work. Every time I was off tour, I would be in the studio. So I've been making records the entire time I was in the Push Stars.
Oh.
Not as big. Some of them were kind of big. Some of them weren't. But, just random stuff my whole life. And I'm still making records now, but not as much as I used to. But so, yeah, I've been doing that. But since we stopped touring, I've been really focusing on our studio now that we have in Hoboken. Mm-hmm. And, we have like a music school now. So basically when I not quit touring, I just stopped touring, never quit the band. The band is still quote unquote together. We're like brothers,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And just a Chris
on hiatus.
We're on hiatus and I'd love to tour again. We're talking about doing some dates in the summer and stuff.
Cool.
So, but meanwhile, I was just, when I moved back in Hoboken, we stopped touring. I started teaching lessons, and then I started teaching out of my house. And I taught piano, bass, guitar, and stuff like that, and that took off, and it took off to the point where we opened a whole school now. So we have like a studio. We have 6. I don't teach anymore. We have 6 teachers that we hired that teach. All with the same ethos of make people really, really, be passionate about music and love music and teach that, and then people will teach themselves. I'm convinced. Get the fire burning, make them love it, make them appreciate it, teach them the basics, the fundamentals of music, and they'll be off and running. And I think once you light that fire, there's nothing stopping a kid from being a musician. In my opinion.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and I've seen the studio. Very cool. He's got a very cool, it's very laid back. It's got that ambiance going on. And then there's the music rooms. They're all around. And then the time I was there, he brings the students in and they roll tape and they let them write a song, right? Or they do a jam or something. It was pretty cool. I was like, get out of town. It's like 6 guys in his room going at it.
Yeah, we did like a camp thing where we had a bunch of 10, 11, 12-year-old kids who come in, and I show them how to mic the drums. I show them how to mic the piano, guitars, told them how to tune everything, how to take care of the instruments, how to conduct yourself as a producer, engineer in the studio. And we split the kids up. One group will be the band, and one group will be the engineer and producers. The thing about studio work is you got to know how to be in a studio, whether you're a band or the producer. You have to know etiquette. You'd have to know how to be respectful of each other and how to treat each other with respect when you're talking about, I've seen lots of bands fight and be disrespectful to each other about, because you get you get where you're under the gun and you feel the pressure of paying for studio time, and that is so counterproductive to making a record, man. You got to get in there, you got to be productive, you have to work together well, and you have to be focused on the music, So hopefully teaching these kids that lesson a little bit young, and when they're older, they'll be way ahead of the game,
Well, that is so cool because it's like a whole package under one roof. It's a comprehensive environment where you learn not only about music and how to make music, but how to record the music. How to respect people, which and etiquette, and That is so lacking to so many degrees.
Oh my God! Yeah,
everywhere it's ridiculous.
And here's the
manners. It just etiquette is manners, and if you learn, if somebody teaches you that stuff early on. It translates to life, not just a studio environment.
Exactly. And on top of the whole thing, you're getting like a crazy seasoned professional who has seen both sides of the spectrum. Yeah. To where they're like, hey, look, this is what you do in a studio, and if you decide to get on a tour bus, don't go number 2.
Oh my God, I never covered that.
Well, everybody's got to go number 2 eventually.
Yeah, but not good on a tour bus.
There's so many things to learn, really, in this business, and if I can impart some of the things I've learned, and trust me, I didn't know them. I learned them, It's like nobody really teaches a lot of this stuff. So I learned the hard way on a lot of stuff, and I don't want to see other people have to learn the hard way either. You don't have to. If there's someone who can guide you, I'll do that.
Well, I mean, there are so few people that are fortunate enough to have learned the hard way, and turn it around and be able to teach somebody
to give it
else.
back.
I mean, usually. A lot of that stays within the community, and if you don't somehow become part of that community, you really are never exposed to it, never learn about it on your own, or anything. This is someone that's come out of that community and is imparting that to people who may eventually wind up in that community.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is that's freaking awesome.
And I really wish that for any band that I work with too. A lot of bands say, "Hey, how did you get a following? How did you get in a movie and everything like that?" And I'm like, it's all possible, because we didn't have any secret, we just worked really hard. When we were young, I was sending out postcards up till 4 in the mornings, like making postcards to send them out. And we used to call people and say, can you come to our show? You got to get people out.
Yeah.
And the other thing is don't give out your CDs for free. A lot of people do that. They're like, well, I just want to get the music out there. People don't appreciate something that you don't put a value on, Unfortunately, you have to sell it for something, $5, $10. But
well, it costs you something regardless.
It costs you a lot.
Even if you did all the recording at home, you had to buy the gear. And then even when the recording is done, then you have to
press it.
You have to either, if you do it yourself one at a time, whatever, but you still have to have the equipment to do that, and you have to buy the disc to put it on,
and then
and something to put it in, and or print on. It's just because you did it yourself doesn't mean it's free.
No,
right? Man, I totally agree, and it's all in how you present yourself. If you put a value on yourself, then other people will value, and it's not money hungry or anything. You just got to get paid what you got every musician out there has to re-educate the world that music is as necessary as almost anything else that we have, and we need to get paid for it, and we need to be valued for what we do,
100% agree.
And people will do that. They've just been conditioned to think that, if I download it, it's free and everything, which is true. I mean, people do that, and I can't fault them for it, but when it comes right down to it, when you're at a gig, man, and someone says, hey, man, let me pay for that CD. Don't give it to me. There's a guy sitting there with an $8 beer in his hand, and he wants a free CD.
Right.
I'm like, pay for it, man.
Yeah.
Show some respect. Anyway, I get off on tangents.
No, but that is a necessary thing for people to hear.
Oh yeah, and
for sure.
I'm you know what I do. I'm in IT, right?
Right.
I talk to guys that I work with and that I know in the same business, and I yell at them. I'm like, you go on iTunes and buy that CD.
Buy it.
And they're like, hey man, I found this download site. I'm like, no. Go buy that thing, man. I'm like, there's somebody that needs to, they're trying to make a living. You're taking it away from them.
You're taking food off the table, right? And they put it out there in hopes that people that are into them or into that style of music, even if they don't know what that particular artist is, maybe they'll buy it and find something really that they enjoy. But the thing is, they put it out there because it's a form for a musician to make money with. It's not just playing live; it's also putting the product out there. They should be one and the same.
Just take it and go to pants. Right, the guy that makes pants isn't going to let you come in and take his pants. He's making pants to make money. The same guy's making music to make money.
Right,
and also show his his art. You know, but it'd be like a painter. A painter isn't going to put the painting up on the wall and give it away for free.
Exactly, Mick. I couldn't agree more. There's almost no other thing in that exists where
you just take it.
You should expect it to be. You know, so.
People just think they're entitled to all of it for free.
That is so weird.
What
isn't
the
it?
hell made you? What's all this entitlement? What made you entitled to it?
Yeah. Well, and you know, I also tell people, I'm like, look, just because you turn on Palladia and this guy's on a stage and there's 10,000 people at the whatever fest in Germany, don't think this guy is rich.
Yeah.
You know, he's on Fifth during the day. He, you know, they paid for the airfare, they paid for the food, and this guy's staying in some crappy hotel in Germany, and he's going to do this show hoping that somebody pays for their music.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because that $45 ticket it doesn't cover a whole lot once you get to the 12th band.
Yeah, there's a lot of expense that goes with all of it, whether it's recording, whether it's performing.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
there's a lot of expense that goes with everything. Just because someone's finally made it to that level, whatever that level is, all the money doesn't go to them now. You know, it still takes a lot of money to be there, to do that.
Don't forget all the people who have jobs because of this. You know, there's a whole industry around it that these people need to be working. So it's not just a musician. You know, when a guy like when Metallica's out there fighting, they're not fighting for themselves. They're fighting for all the musicians and all the people who work in studio. Or not just them, but, you know, Bon Jovi employs so many people on his tours, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Sure,
there's thousands of people working, you know. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, but, it's an interesting subject. It's like I would hate to try to be starting a band today. You know, I mean, it's very exciting in one way because you can really instantly get your music out there on YouTube and stuff like that. The other way, there's so many other bands doing it, so it's just I don't know. It's an interesting time, definitely.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of really good music out there right now. You know.
I mean, at YouTube, I mean, if you're lucky and it goes quote unquote viral, you know, there's a couple dollars you can make that way, and it's ad revenue, and they take a hell of a chunk of it, you know. But you can still make $1 or $2 that way.
What's good is like you know, I mean, there's a quality factor. You still, for the most part, there's some stuff that's like gimmicky, but for the most part, you know, if you're really, really talented and really, really good, you're going to be noticed, you know. And I like that part of it. I think that's cool, you know. Like you get a nobody who's really amazingly talented, puts them on YouTube, and then that's how it should be, man. It's like in the old days, you know, you had to go through a lot of different hoops to get noticed, you know.
That's true. You know, and a lot of bands made it into the trash can just going to look, or the first 30 seconds of a song was not the right first 30 seconds, but the next song could have been $1 million hit, you know.
You know, then again, there's some stuff that hits really big that I don't get anymore. I don't.
Here's a case in point. The guy that did Gangnam Style, right?
Oh yeah.
He sold 65,000 albums in Korea. Literally, he was nothing. They put that video out, and he made 6.5 million because it got like 1 billion hits on YouTube.
Yeah. It's something crazy.
I mean, that's insane.
That is insane.
You know, you think about that. I mean, it literally one song made this guy like $6 million.
I'm trying to write that song, Mick. You know,
that's good stuff, man.
Oh my God!
Right now, the air conditioning at the studio is broke, so you know, of course, right now it happens to be like in Hoboken, like 9 degrees up here, like the last couple of days. You know, of course, my luck in May, right?
Yeah, of course.
So there's always something, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And, you know, even when you're not recording and you're not playing, it still costs money to be involved in the music industry. So
yes. Now,
people should respect.
I saw Danny the other day, and we were talking, and one of the things that he said to me, I was like, man, I just want to hear his take on this, because we couldn't really get into the conversation where we were.
Okay.
But he said, I said, you know, it's kind of weird now, man, because, you know, studios are everywhere, because if you have a laptop, you pretty much have a studio. And he said this exact words where, well, you know, it's really in the ears. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, he's 100% right. You know, I've seen a lot of guys that have had a lot of equipment that when it came down to making something with it, it was horrible. And when you take somebody like Danny, who's got this double side, right? He's been on both sides of that board,
performer and producer kind of thing. Yeah,
there's a whole, it's the ears. It's the, he's got that thing. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I learned that, I learned from so many great producers over my. Like some of these guys that I learned from are like legendary, I assisted Eddie Kramer for a month in the studio,
Nice.
And people like that, this guy Garth Richardson and I don't know, Don King, all these like big kind of producer, engineer guys. And it really is magical what they do. I work with this one guy, I can't remember his name now, but he recorded AC/DC. He was the engineer on some of those records, and he was so simple with what he did in the studio. He didn't do a lot of stuff. He didn't use a lot of EQ, a lot of compression. He just blended everything so nicely, and he just placed the microphones in the right way. He just used his ears,
That wasn't that wasn't Mutt Lang, was it?
No.
Oh,
it wasn't
okay.
him. It was I think his name was
Jesus.
I want to say Nigel Green. I don't want to say his name if I get it wrong, but he mixed the record that I recorded, and he had worked with several different people like as a mixing engineer. He's probably in the record somewhere, but I could find his name out. But he was just so, this is one example, but all these old pros, they don't do much, they just use their ears, and they balance things really well, and they don't plug a million compressors in, a million EQs, a million, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's one mic, and they put it right, and they just know that from experience.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, well, the longer you've been doing it, which translates into the older that you are, you didn't have all the things that we have now. Of course, you had the mainstays, like the AaA and all this other kind of stuff. The real gear that we now consider vintage and the cream of the crop kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there weren't 1,000 plugins that you could make anything sound like anything. Right. You really needed to work with the proper mic and the proper miking technique. And get to know what does what the best, and that's just from experience. And then when you finally get that, you go in and you go, you move this here, you move this here, you set this up. I want to use this. I want to use this. Bang, let's record.
Yeah.
And,
I can't count exactly. I can't count how many times I did a record for a band, and then they loved it, and they wanted to save money. And the next record, they bought a bunch of equipment, and they did it in their house and everything. And then for the next record, they came back to me because it didn't come out good. And basically, my answer to that is I can buy all the pots and pans and spatulas in the world, but I'm not going to cook like Emerald.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
that's great.
I just don't have it. I just don't know how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he's been doing it for years. And you can't just start doing something with the right equipment that someone else has been doing for years. And I don't get mad about it. I'm like, good for it. Go for it, guys. If you do it, great. I'll be here.
Right. I'll be here when you come back. Yeah.
If you want, I'll pencil you in right now.
I'm not going to tell anybody not to do that. I'm not going to discourage them from doing that.
Oh no, I mean, and they could hit it right. They could get lucky.
Right.
They could get lucky and hit it right. And if not, all that does is basically up your worth. Because it doesn't necessarily need to do it financially, but we're talking to respect again. Wow, this guy, it is worth paying a professional to do this, because it may take us 20 years to get it to sound like this guy can get it to sound tomorrow.
Exactly. And I understand the DIY, I totally get that. In fact, sometimes I say, look, I'll record the drums and the bass and everything. You guys do the rest at home. Do all the vocals, do all the tambourine parts and everything, and then I'll mix it. And that's at least kind of mixing both things together. But I like to be there every step of the way when making a record, even doing tambourine overdubs. I can say
no, they're tough, man. They're tough.
I'm saying you're doing it wrong, man. Hit it on this part of the hand. It's like things like that. It's like it sounds crazy, but it takes years of experience to just know that stuff.
Oh, sure.
But I get it. The bands want to do that, but they do realize, I think most bands, after they've been doing it a while, have gained the wisdom to know that you got to trust someone who's older, who's been making records his whole life and knows how to do this stuff. Because you're right, they'll spend much less time in the studio. So in the long run, you probably save money.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, but it's fun. I love being in the studio. I never get tired of it. spent most of my life in this studio, you know, and I just, it's where I always want to be, and I love it.
Cool.
So
that's nice.
And that's where that's where you create. You know,
yeah, everyone's creating. Yeah.
Do you get to play a lot anymore?
Yeah, occasionally. A lot of times, someone will come in with just a guitar and their songs and a voice, and they want to make a record. And I'll say very gently, look, hey, I'm here if you need me. You know, I'll put bass on your record if you need it, or, you know, you need some keyboards. You don't have to, but if you want it, I'm here, you know.
Cool.
And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, let me hear it. And I'll play something that's like, if you don't like it, I'll erase it. I have no ego about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up liking it, and we end up making a record. And there I am playing like a lot of the instruments on the record. But I just want to, you know,
So
and
cool.
it's very fulfilling for me because I can write parts, and then I become part of the record, and I love doing that. So I do get to play in that way a lot. I do get to create. So I feel like, you know, it's not the same as when I was touring, playing every night for hours a night, but still I do get to play. So yeah,
that's
trying to keep my chops up. You know,
Sure.
You lose that if you don't play enough.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. You know,
Isn't that awesome?
It's so nice to have somebody come in and you can go, hey, by the way, I play everything.
Yeah, and it's like,
What are you thinking about? I got that.
Yeah, some guys like, no, so do I. And I'm like, great, you do it, man. And, you know, but it's a team effort. Sometimes they're like trying to get a guitar part, and I'm like, hey, man, try it. Give me that guitar a minute. You know what I mean? And then I say, maybe do it this way. And it's like, hey, if I can play better, same thing with me. I've been in the studio where someone's like, give me that guitar, let me try it. It's a team effort, you know. Whoever can do the best, you do the best, and that's it. You just let everything else go, and just because in the end, you're making the best record you can. So,
right,
you know,
right. You know, if you have the extra pieces there to use them.
Right.
Sure.
You know, if it's going to make the best product.
Yeah.
And what I love doing too, you guys would love this. Just, you know, when we're doing guitar overdubs, that's my favorite. It's one of my favorite parts of making a record, because I'm like, hey, take this Dan Electro baritone, plug it into the twin right there through this Memory Man, all right, and do this and double that guitar line with that. And I love doing that stuff. Just like
awesome.
something that the guy never thought of.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it's worked because I did it on a record like 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I want to share that, you know, and it's a different circumstance, but it may work on this record, you know. That is fun for me, being a gearhead with that stuff. Like, take this Jazz Master into this amp, see what happens, you know. Doesn't always work, but, you know, it's nice to experiment.
No, that's very cool. And a lot of times there'll be something on there that nobody will realize what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, right. Or if they hear it and they're trying to replicate it, they go, I don't know how to do this. I don't know. You know, that's the cool one. It's like, I don't know how they did that. What is that sound? How did they get that?
I love that stuff too.
Oh, me too.
In fact, I'll do like a percussion part on like a guitar or something. It's like, well, what is that? You know, it's like, oh, it's the guy slapping the back. You know, when you hear a record, you're like, what is that sound? And you hear a funny story about it. Yeah. So it's him like banging the underside of a piano or something like that. That's fun when people can't figure out what it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's like the car horns in the box with Van Halen at the beginning of Running with the Devil. And then they took it and slowed it down. And they were like, oh, well, you know, if you want to reproduce this, it's this Mercedes. You have to get these horns. And, you know, and they were like, oh, okay.
Or you could just sample it, right?
Yeah,
there you go.
Nowadays
you can sample it.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking real quick here, but we were talking about how the older engineers really don't do a lot to it. And we had the pleasure of talking to a kid named J.D. Simo. Mm-hmm. And, you know, J.D. said to us, he said, look, I treat Pro Tools like 2-inch tape. He said, so I don't use any of the plugins. He goes, I just roll that thing. We set up. We get all the mics where they need to be and just go.
Play.
And he said that it really captures, you know, like what you would hear back then. Pretty accurately.
Right, with the ensemble playing together, you know, somewhat isolated, but playing together.
Exactly.
You know?
And he said that kind of technique, if you just treat Pro Tools like 2-inch tape, you can kind of not get down
you got to think this is the take, not fix it in the mix.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah,
no time correction, no auto-tune.
You know what's great about that, though, is when you go to edit, though, you're talking about the band leaving for half a day versus being done in about 30 seconds on the edits. Because I used to edit 2-inch tape, and that was like a whole day.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that is
and
true.
so editing now, which I have to say, I love Pro Tools because, I mean, you can do so much more in such a quick time, and there's more time for creativity, and there's, you can make records so much faster because we used to literally, the band would take off a day and go whatever to the beach or something, and then we edit all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And literally, the edits that we did on 2-inch tape, I can do in literally seconds now. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And, things like reversing tracks. We used to turn the reel upside down and reverse it and bounce it. Now I can just hit a button and I see nothing wrong. It's the same. You're doing the same thing because you're doing the same principles, but it's saving so much time. So
absolutely.
I agree with both of those. I like to mix both of those things. I agree with the simplicity of what that engineer is talking about, but also appreciate the fact that you can get so much more done. It saves bands time and money and everything like that.
Sure.
And also, not for nothing, 2-inch tape used to cost $200 a reel.
Oh, yeah.
God only knows what it is now.
I don't even know.
Last week we were talking to Steve Fossen, who was the original bass player for Heart.
Yeah.
And in the conversation, he was telling us that because Jeff said, "Is it true that when you did Dreamboat Annie, it was in an analog studio?" All tube studio. Sorry, all tube, right? And he said, "Yeah." He goes, "We used to edit 30 seconds at a time, and we literally had." Every single person in the room
had two hands on the console turning knobs and faders. Well, they wasn't even faders; they were just knobs. Just knobs.
Yeah. Oh my God!
For 30 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they would go back and listen to see if it was good enough, or if they had to run that 30 seconds again with 16 hands.
Yeah.
On this board.
They said where the cowbell was could be the lead guitar too. So it was like
you didn't have a separate track for everything. It's just there were portions of a track that were dedicated to guitar, and then portions of a track that were dedicated to a cowbell or a percussion or something like that.
Right. Yes.
And every section was a completely different EQ for whatever the instrument was.
Yeah.
And then you re-EQ when the guitar comes back in,
and that album sounds incredibly warm.
It's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's right. Track sharing. That's right. Because you had 24, so sometimes you had to, in the chorus, put cowbell, and in the verse, put like a tambourine or something.
I think he said they did Dreamboat Annie on 16. Yeah.
16.
Wow.
16.
If it's 16 2-inch, it's probably the best format that has ever existed. Actually.
Yeah.
I know what he's talking about. Yeah, that was.
That was not a lot of crosstalk.
No, exactly, and it was. That's just right there.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So, cool, man, this has been awesome.
The studio in Hoboken, where is it? And is it Lenny? It's not the studio that Lenny used to have there, is it?
No, I'm about maybe half a mile away from there, maybe.
Okay.
That's I don't think that's there anymore, but I think it's another studio or something like that. But there's a big rehearsal space like across town, and then there's Water Music, which is a very big studio that a lot of big names are recorded. I used to work there for a little while. This one is in Uptown Hoboken. It's on Washington between 10th and 11th, and it's my little.
What do you call it, Danny? What's the name?
It's called the Vault. I call it the Vault because there's a bank right above us, and I believe I know where the vault is for the bank, but I haven't done any kind of drilling yet.
That's funny.
But we call
you have to wait for a holiday weekend.
Yeah. A lot of people have said, "Hey, have you thought about it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've thought about it." But no, we call it the Vault Recording.
That's cool.
It's right there.
We'll put all the links up on our site.
Absolutely, and I think it's just such a great concept where you bring the kids in and just expose them to everything. Teaching and it's fantastic concept.
Some of them get the recording time. It's not going to be everyone's career, but it's one of those things where it's like it's fun for them. And to be honest, like I know a lot of people that I know that were musicians that quit, and maybe if they had one little experience in their life that lit a fire under them to want to do this, they might still be musicians. But I know a lot of guys that were
Amen to that,
musicians.
man.
Yeah, they kind of hung up their hat and did something else, and unfortunately, maybe they didn't have that little thing that pushed them in that direction. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do.
Cool.
That's awesome. That and the guitar that the strings aren't a half an inch off the neck, but
exactly.
I can't play this.
Yeah, man,
it's hilarious.
Well,
by the way, you'll love this, guys. A friend of mine lent me a 65 Hofner bass the other day to just mess around.
Wow.
And I played a bunch of Beatles tunes, and it's like it's amazing. You can play Beatles tunes when you have that bass.
Mm-hmm.
That was the bass.
Flat wounds on it.
Flat wounds.
Yep.
Original flat wound. I don't think they've ever been changed.
Oh my God.
Bass. It was unbelievable. It was beautiful sounding. It's just I used a felt pick and everything.
Wow. Felt pick. God, I haven't seen one of those in decades. Wow, that's
that
crazy.
is so cool.
Wow. Yeah, well, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time, man. And letting us know what you do. I think it's a really great concept, and I feel that everybody that passes through there is a bit more fortunate than most others who never get to experience something like
Thank
that.
you very much.
And
really
people to
appreciate it.
just, like you said, light a fire under, man. That is so needed, man.
That's very kind of you. I appreciate the nice words, and I appreciate you guys talking to me. I mean, it's fun to talk about it. I could talk for hours more.
Oh yeah.
Well, hopefully, when it goes out there, you'll get another phone call or two, and you can tell somebody else about it.
Me and Danny, we always get pulled apart when we're at these family events, because it's like we start in, and we like a half an hour later, everybody's looking at us, and we're like,
we haven't even gotten into mixed guitars yet. I mean, it's a whole other day.
Yeah, actually, we just touched base on one of them earlier in the show.
I just talked about one that I just purchased.
Nice.
Very nice.
You know how it is, man. It's
definitely.
It's never ending.
That's
it
true.
Never ends. No.
Well, we would hate it too.
It's the juice.
It is.
That's the thing.
It is. Well, Dan, thank you so very much, man, and go back to doing what you do so well.
All right, thanks, guys.
And have a great day.
All right, you too.
Thank you very much.
Take
care,
guys.
man.
All right.
Bye. Well, and there you have the story.
Yeah, man.
The story of Dan McLoughlin.
Yeah,
and,
he's awesome, dude.
How he's, in my opinion, giving back. He's taken his experience and exposing kids to it that wouldn't be able to get that from anyone else.
Yeah.
He's given back in a very cool way. And you have like School of Rock things and all that kind of stuff, but this is just so much broader and all encompassing, because with the School of Rock thing, it's cool.
They put a band together.
And you jam and all, but you don't get the studio experience. This is like above and beyond. It's so cool.
Yeah, and he's like the real deal. Like, I've been in that studio, and you go in and reminded me a little bit of Frank's place.
Frank Marchand?
Yes.
Okay.
Where you're looking around and you go, all this stuff yours? And he's like, yeah, I've had that amp for 25 years. I've had this amp for like 30 years. That's my old grand piano that we had, growing up as a kid. This Slingerland drum set is from like 1963, and you're like, what? It's like amazing, and it's just got this vibe.
Absolutely.
He doesn't, it's not like you don't go in and you don't feel like you just can't relax. It's kind of messy, but it's still cool. Because that I've been in studios that have been like, man, you don't even want to set a glass down,
right?
You're kind of like, because it's state of the art.
It's either too pristine, and then you get sometimes the feel is like too sterile, where you can't feel at home, and
there's
no inspiration.
So Dan's place it really makes you feel comfortable.
Cool.
And that's the way Dan is. Dan is one of those guys that he's just so approachable, and it's like he takes a vested interest in you. You know, and it was like, that's why I had to, I said, dude, you got to come on the show, and he was like, really? Am I going to? And I'm like, you got all this stuff. You got you've done everything that
there's a story there. Like everybody else, there's a story there.
Like 90% of the guys that are listening to this show, probably 95% of the guys would want that career.
Oh, for sure.
He went out, he pursued the music side of it, and then went, and now he's recording.
Started with recording, went out and did the whole music touring thing.
Exactly.
Now he's back to recording and teaching.
Yeah, and the band is on hiatus,
right?
And
and that's great.
Yeah, man, and he's a great guy. We'll have to, when he comes down, we'll have to get together. He's an awesome dude. Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we'll totally do that.
So until next time, my friend.
It's gonna be a next time.
Always.
Very good.
I am Mick Marcelino.
Damn right.
And you.
I'm still Jeff Bober sitting in the chair.
And we are always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @Amps and Axes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage, ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.